Hi, today I'm going to talk to you about 5 ways to keep your kids from interrupting. Now, interrupting is one of those things that a lot of parents struggle with and deal with, especially when they're trying to do other things. Busy moms, busy dads, trying to accomplish daily tasks, and they have a young one kind of pulling and tugging and needing their attention all the time. One of the most important things that parents need to understand is, why do children interrupt? Now, a lot of times it is for some needs, but most of the time, especially for younger children, it's impulsive. They just lack impulsive control in how to deal with situations or how to just sit still, for example. And so understanding that this is an impulsive thing and realizing, is this really a need? Is this something they absolutely need? Are they starving? Are they hurt? Is that why they're interrupting? Or is it something different? So you have to realize the difference between the two. Of course, if it's something that's important and they need to address right now, they need your attention and you need to give them your attention. If it's something that can wait, then that's a perfect time to teach them some of the things involved with impulse control. All right. Now, I'm going to give you 5 of the steps, but all of these 5 require you as a parent to practice this with your child. Now, you can learn how to practice this effectively by jumping on the Smarter Parenting website on a skill that's called role-playing. Now, role-playing, of course, a lot of parents have heard about it, and some parents are absolutely uninterested in spending the time to role play. However, role playing is one of those things that is effective in helping rewire your child's brain and helping them know how to respond to situations when those situations arise. There's something in the development of a child's brain that if they actually practice something over and over and over again, they become more apt to do that behavior when the situation arises. And this is one of those things with impulse control with children that will be very, very helpful. Again, for parents who struggle with role playing, my suggestion to you is just to look at any profession out there that requires some type of skill. This could be sports, this could be entertainment or music. There is always a period where people are practicing or role-playing something. You don't go to a movie and people are just making it up as they go. They've actually spent weeks and weeks rehearsing exactly what to do and how to behave in a certain situation. The same thing happens with basketball games. If you look at a child who's playing basketball, they usually are role-playing in their brain, okay, this is the last 3 seconds of the game. I need to make this final shot, and they practice. And practice is really where you start to train your brain, and you're training your child's brain on how to behave when things happen. It's absolutely essential, and especially for younger children. And if you think your child won't do it, believe me, they will if you are engaged in it. So again, jump on the Smarter Parenting website and look at the skill of role playing, because it will give you suggestions and ideas on how you can do this. So, and the 5 things that you're going to do. Okay, the first thing that you're going to do is that you're going to role play where you have a word, a key word that you're going to say, which means to your child that they need to wait. Okay, so you're going to do anything. Now, I worked with a family, and the word that they decided to use was banana, because the kid thought the word banana was hilarious. And the kid was maybe 4 years old. So if something was to happen, and the mom was busy and the kid was tugging and asking her for something, and she looked down and said banana, then the child, they role played for the child to actually go sit in a very specific chair and just count to 10. So it wasn't only just sit there, but it was actually giving the child something to do before he could come back and ask her again. So we role played that like for 2 or 3 days, multiple times, in order to get that. And what we found is, over time, the child was able to do that. So whenever the child came over and was asking mom, the mom actually just had to look at him, and it was a trigger in his mind because he had done it so many times. She just said banana, and then he would go over and sit in the chair and count to 10. Now, after the mom was finished, she could go over there and talk to him and explain, okay, what do you need and stuff. And that helped him learn to separate his needs from what the mom needed to do. So you can choose a keyword. It can be anything you want. But again, the role-playing piece of this is going to be the most important part of making sure that this works. So banana, you can choose anything you want. Find a word that your child relates to and that they feel, can actually break their focus, and they can they know that it's something, and practice it over and over, practice it in different situations as well. Okay. The next thing that you're going to try is you can also use a hand signal. So a hand signal to help your child know, okay, this is what you need to do. And again, this is going to require some role playing and some practicing on your child. For another parent, we did this, where the parent just put up their hand like this and just waved it like this. So it wasn't like a push away or anything, but it was just like a gentle wave. And in doing that, that just meant, okay, you need to wait a minute. Now, you can choose any hand signal that you want to choose, work on it with your child, or actually have your child choose the hand signal. That's always really great as well, because the child feels more invested in doing this. And you want to role play this. So now for this role play with this parent, what we did is we did this with the parent, but the child actually practiced it with the parent. So the parent was able to do what the child was supposed to do. And in this case, the child was supposed to go sit on the couch and grab a book and just read it. So the child actually did this to the parent, and the parent demonstrated exactly what to do and did that multiple times. And then the child, by seeing this being modeled and being an example, the parent being an example, the child actually did the same thing. And again, we practiced this again and again and again, and the child was eventually able to do that. So all the parent had to do was use the hand signal instead, and the child would wait. Now again, the important aspect to this is that you go back after whatever it is that you're doing, and you talk to your child and you figure out what it is they needed, and to let them know that they're important and that you're there for them, but that their needs can wait. And again, it's part of that impulsivity thing where, yeah, you have needs, but this isn't the right time. Okay, so these are great skills that children do need to learn later on in life, because they can't have everything they want when they want it. So there's almost this whole lesson of delayed gratification that comes along with this role-playing scenario. All right, so first you have keywords, or a word that you're going to use, or you use hand signals. The next thing that I would suggest is using something where you actually shift your attention away. And this one also requires practice. So in the case of the parent, whatever they were doing, what they would do is just turn, okay, away from what the child needed. And again, this is a visual and physical change that's happening in the environment. So the child will usually like tug and tug and tug, and the parent will have to look down and pay attention to what's going on. In this case, the child would tug and the parent would actually shift all their focus away. Now, the child actually would move around and do that, and the parent would continually shift. This is a bigger physical movement than actually doing the hand wave and saying, you need to go back, but actually shifting your focus. And it doesn't have to be your whole body. It can be part of your body. It could be your eyes moving away, and as they look, they move away. But again, it's to trigger in your child this understanding that you have through your role playing that now is not a good time to interrupt, and they don't need to interrupt. Okay, so again, you will just shift your focus, and the child interrupts again, shift the focus. This again has power when you use it with role playing, and the child knows exactly what it is you're doing and what you expect them to do. Now again, in these recommendations where the child is actually needs to go and wait, you need to give them something to do. In the first scenario, they were to sit there and count to 10. In the second scenario, they were to grab a book. So think of something that your child can do during that time to occupy their time, because you can't just expect them to go and sit there patiently without something specific that they need to do. All right. So those are three things. The fourth thing that I'm going to recommend you do is you actually take some time to talk to them and explain to them that now is not a good time. Now, this may be instinctual for a lot of parents, but by role-playing it, you can use keywords, a hand signal, and your physical body to do this part of it, which is it should trigger in your child that now is not a good time and that they need to go and wait. So again, you're going to reach down, you're going to say, okay, now is not a good time. Those are trigger words. You're using your body and you're shaking your head or whatever you're doing, and you're actually incorporating all of these other three steps into the one thing that you're doing. And then you give them a direction of what they need to do. So it's like, I need you to go and sit down or you need to go and sit down on the chair. And then again, you have to give them something to do. You can't just let them sit there and just kind of wait. And like, go there, I need you to count to 20. I need you to recite your ABCs. I need you to open a coloring book. I need you to, okay? All these things that you need to do, all right? So the fourth thing is actually incorporating all the other three, but taking a brief moment to explain to them what they need to do. And this actually is part of a skill that's on the Smarter Parenting website called corrective teaching, or correcting behaviors. So correcting behaviors, go and look at that lesson, and it kind of explains how to do this in an effective way. So again, we have these 4 things that you're going to do. Now, the fifth thing that you can do in helping your child to, when they are interrupting you, is to just give them a very specific direction on what they need to do instead. So again, instead of taking the time to say, okay, you're interrupting me, what you're going to do is just give them a direction and say, okay, you need to go and do this, or you need to go and do that, and you need to go and do this. And just giving them very specific, and then after stating, okay, I will be with you in a certain amount of time, like 4 minutes, 2 minutes, I will be with you. But you need to give them an activity that will take up the time that you're going to be gone. Okay, so that's setting up an expectation for the child as well, that you will come back to them and that you will pay attention to what they need, but you're telling them right now is not a good time. All right, so those are the 5 things that you can do. You can find more information on this on the Smarter Parenting website. These are, again, things that will be effective, but only if you role play them and you practice them with your child. Because again, remember, we're talking about creating this expectation in their brain where they know how to react and they know how to behave when situations arrive. You're setting up this scene and scenario for future things. One of the ways to make role playing and practicing this most effective is to do it in multiple places throughout, and practice it during times when your child is calm. So you can actually role play in the car, you can role play, at the store, you can role play at home, you can role play outside, at the playground, at school. All these different situations, you can actually practice these things. All you need to do is say, okay, hey, we're going to practice this real quick. I want to see if you remember it, okay? You're going to come in, interrupt me, and this is what I want you to do. And then you practice it right there. And the more you do it, the more connections are made in their brain to the point where they're going to behave the way that you want them to behave when situations arrive. All right, so those are the 5 things that you can do when children interrupt you. But remember, again, it's learning about impulse control, and that's what you're doing, is you're shaping their impulsivity so they can understand that there are other things that need to come before that. It teaches them delayed gratification, which is a huge skill later on as they get older. All right, these also work with teenagers, so just be aware that you can do this. You do have to customize it for a teenager. And the way to customize it for a teenager is just not talk down to them, but the role play actually may not have to happen so frequently and so much. You'll have to role play it a couple of times, but you just need to let them know. And most teenagers will be pretty good about working through that and understanding that they need to wait, because it's one of those maturity things that kids learn over time, that they can't get what they want right away. All right, so for more tips and suggestions, jump over to the Smarter Parenting website. You can get more information on that. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And again, if you have any questions or comments or parenting concerns, feel free to leave comments below or contact us on smarterparenting.com. You can email us and send us those questions, and we'd be happy to answer them. So don't forget to subscribe.